And if you've watched my previous video where I was having fun drifting with my all-wheel drive Camaro, I said that if I practice, I'd be able to do touge with it, and so I did. But it's really hard to do it perfectly every single time because of the tire smoke that covers almost my entire screen if I go too hard on these corners. I could turn off the smoke from the game settings, but I didn't want to, cause honestly, I love the smoke in CarX Street. It looks so beautiful, so I'd rather be extra careful on these corners than turning off the smoke. And if you wanna get into this all-wheel drive drifting, I'll give you my tuning in this video. But before we jump into that, I'll explain a little bit about it, because what good is a tuning if you don't know how to use it, right? So what I'm doing here is somewhat different from rear-wheel drive drifting. On a rear-wheel drive car, you let the rear wheel slip, followed by a controlled oversteer with your front wheels as a guide and with auto countersteer assist. And what I'm doing here is handbrake turn, followed by a slide with the front wheels as a guide and as the drive wheels and without auto countersteer assist. In drifting, you want to make your drift flow smoothly, and what I'm doing here basically is connecting one backward entry to another. Now, let's get into the tuning and I'll explain more about it. For the engine, I'm using the stock engine, fully upgraded everything except the turbo. This blue turbo is actually this car's stock turbo, and it's unique to the Achievement Camaro, not the normal Camaro. For the transmission, I swapped it to the lightest one and of course made it all-wheel drive. Now here's the thing, for the differential, for this car you'll need off-throttle lock, so use welded or clutch differential. For the body, it's stage 4 fully upgraded except the fuel tank, and also fully upgraded suspension. As for the wheels, I'm using 305/25/20 front and 345/25/20 rear. For the tires, racing front and racing -5 rear. For the engine tuning, I maxed out everything except the peak RPM, because I don't use nitros when I drift and I'm planning to keep it that way. So I set the value as close to but not higher than my rev limiter value. For the differential, I use the highest preload and lock at the front and the opposite at the rear, and also custom gear ratio. But here's the thing. If you set the differentials the opposite way, or if you're using welded differential, it will make your car slide easier. For the body, I'm making it as lightweight as possible, and as far as I know, aero and downforce don't really matter if you go sideways. For the suspension, I use stiffer front and softer rear overall. It gives me more stability when exiting corners, but you can do the opposite if you want to make your car slide easier. As for the cambers, I'm just making all my wheels perpendicular to the ground to have maximum grip when exiting corners. As I was saying, this car was built to connect one backward entry to another, and I'm using toe out front for more steering response and toe in rear to make the turn tighter, but you can use toe out rear if you want more oversteer. And for the caster, I'm using the lowest value to make my front wheels more perpendicular to the ground when turning, so I can have a better grip. Ackerman also the lowest value for more stability when exiting corners. And for the brake, I'm using 50/50 brake bias with the highest brake power. Unlike rear-wheel drive drifting where I use my brake pedal to gain or hold angle, I'm using the brake pedal in this car to actually slow it down if I attack those corners too hard, and I use the handbrake to gain angle. And for the dampers, I just stiffen the rebounds a little for extra stability. For the wheels, I'm using higher front pressure and lower rear pressure so it won't oversteer. But you can do the opposite to make the car slide easier. That's it for this video. Like and subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you guys next time.